And the year Tovkov Peches, the Mittler Rebbe was in jail. He was arrested, and it still was sort of a hangover still of the grievances that the Mesnagdim had against Chassidim, and there was still that thought that if they're going to inform the government that the Chassidim are doing things improper, and the Rebbe is collecting huge amounts of money, and the kids are to inform the government and give them all kinds, which incidentally happened to be it backfired on the Snagdim too, like usual, like these things. But it was a malshinus against the, and after he was released, he was very concerned. He was very concerned. Funny thing is that 10 years ago, only 10 years, the Rebbe asked if they could find the documents. He was arrested. Several Chassidim were arrested. There was long.
Somebody was malshing.
And there was a lot of documents in here.
Otherwise, you wouldn't know the names.
So the Rebbe asked. 10 years ago, they found a stash of documents of the government of a governor of Vitebsk who was in charge of the case. It's a book. It's a thick book. Before I came here tonight, I just went through the entire book. It's like 300 pages. Unbelievable. Yeah, But wow. You know what? The Rebbe, the Mittler Rebbe was right. There was not good stuff pending. Eventually, they did this. The Russian Senate didn't even know that he passed away. There was no. So the snail mail came a long time after the Mittler Rebbe passed away that his name is cleared. But the Mittler Rebbe had a feeling that it's not over. Even though he was released, it was not over. And the Mittler Rebbe decided he's going to travel to the kever of the Alter Rebbe, which is in Hadich. And he spent the Rosh Hashanah in Hadich. After Rosh Hashanah, he came out, one of the times when he came to Alter Rebbe, he came out with a big smile on his face. It looked like everything was good now. He said, "Ich gepoilt by the Tate as a mepaterum from the Rabbonos." Finally, I prevailed upon my father. I'm off the hook. I don't have to be the Rebbe anymore. The Chassidim thought that because they always knew he wanted to live in Israel, they thought he meant that he's going to Eretz Yisrael. So they said, "How could you leave us? You can go to Eretz Yisrael." So he said, "So what's the big deal? I'm leaving my son-in-law, Tzemach Tzedek." But later, Chassidim understood that's not exactly what he meant. He meant that he's going to pass away that year. Mittler Rebbe was quite young then. He was 54 years old. The Chassidim didn't expect that.
The Mittler
Rebbe was 54 years old when he passed away. Yeah,
he was sick.
So after that he got very sick, and he couldn't keep on traveling. He was trying to go back to Lubavitch.
So his grandchild, not his son, not his son-in-law. You said son-in-law.
No, the Tzemach Tzedek is the son-in-law of the Mittler Rebbe. He married the daughter of the Mittler Rebbe.
And he himself is Tzemach Tzedek, is a grandchild of the
Alter Rebbe. Right. So he married his first cousin. Right, he married his first cousin.
Oh, okay, got it.
So when he said that gepoilt mazal mepater from the Rabbonos, the Chassidim thought he's going to move to Israel, and he's saying that Tzemach Tzedek is going to be the next Rebbe. Probably wishes to go, but that was it. It really meant something else. He meant that he's being nostalgic.
How come that Tzemach Tzedek actually made it to Israel?
Tzemach Tzedek never made it.
So which Rebbe?
The Frierdiker Rebbe.
The Frierdiker Rebbe made it.
But Mittler Rebbe sent a lot of his daughter. He sent to Eretz Yisrael. Rebbe Tzemach Rochel. He sent. She's buried in Hebron, right? So the Mittler Rebbe had a very close thing with Eretz Yisrael, especially with Hebron. Chassidim thought that he's planning to move to Eretz Yisrael. Could be he did have a thought like that, but Lepoil, he passed away when he's 54.
He was the best real estate.
Exactly. He was going back home to Lubavitch. He stopped in Yezhin because he was very sick. He couldn't keep on traveling. When he was so sick, and the doctor said that maybe the remedy is that they should allow that the Chassidim should come in and hear Chassidus. And if they'll be allowed to say Chassidus to the Chassidim, maybe it'll give them chayas. And we'll talk about this soon. The Rebbe said that Tzemach Tzedek said, my father-in-law, if he cut his finger, blood wouldn't come out, Chassidus would come out.
Wow.
That's what happened when they allowed the doctors allowed the Chassidim to come in, even though he was so sick, he was so ill that they thought he was going to pass away.
But he felt better when after he said that.
As soon as he got up and he started to say Chassidus, the color came back to his face. And that's happened every time he said Chassidus. But in the meantime, they were stuck there for a few months. He couldn't travel away from the Ezhem because he was too sick. It was a week before the Petita of the Mittel Rebbe, and he said that he really wants to say Chassidus. So again, there was a big group of Chassidim that came, and it was so packed. Everyone then he was in his bed, and there was someone standing on a bench, and he was wearing a hat, and it was so packed. He got a zetz here and a zetz there, and his hat went falling onto the Mittel Rebbe. And the Mittel Rebbe said that it's a simon that whatever I was supposed to say now shouldn't be said. But instead, he said a different maimer, a very historic maimer. At that time, at that year, was when the Russian government enacted this cruel law, which came into effect after the stalkus of the Mittel Rebbe, which is to take Jewish children away from their parents and make them soldiers. They were called the Kantonist, and for 25 years they were serving in the Russian army. A very sad chapter in Jewish history, and this went on for many years. And the Mittel Rebbe said, now, there is an interesting thing about this Maimer. There was one of the Choshev Chassidim, the Mendel Futafas, when he came out of Russia, it was in Tov Shin Chov Dalet. And the first time he came to Fabrengen, so it's interesting because I was learning this sicha, but Shmuley now just gave me these things from Rabbi Shapiro, who remembers he was there at the Fabrengen, and he says, I was not there at the Fabrengen, Toshachav Dalet. He says that the first Fabrengen he came, Chassidim was sure this guy sat 8 years in jail. And he was a Baal Mesidus Nefesh of the highest degree. The Rebbe wanted, the Rebbe told him to go to Manhattan to meet Rebbe Moshe Feinstein, and that he should ask that Rebbe Moshe Feinstein should give him a bechina in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, because he was bucky, he was clear in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch and the whole thing.
Why, so why didn't you show off?
The Rebbe wanted Rebbe Moshe to see
somebody
what a
that
Jew
was in jail without books.
In jail.
Yeah, the Rebbe wanted Rebbe Moshe to know what's going on. That Rabbi Shapiro says that he was at the Fabrengen. It was the first time he saw the Rebbe in his life. He says the Rebbe gave no special attention to him, and he says that the Bochum understood that at that time there were people that clearly were agents from the KGB that were coming to 770. To the extent that they used to take out he was a guy that used to come and take out an expensive camera that was there, like unbelievable. And instead of taking pictures of the Rebbe, he was taking pictures of
Russian.
everyone in the crowd. You have to realize the people in the crowd were still, shaking in their boots. Guys like my grandfather, these people they were shaking in their boots from the KGB. So
you want them? They were still people.
they were coming. They were sending people. They were sending people.
For what?
That's what Russians are. Russians are Russians. You gotta know. They're the shoy.
Till this day.
So the Rebbe made a special.
When the Rebbe spoke in Russia, I was there.
It's unbelievable.
And the Rebbe said the KGB is right here now, but I'm still gonna say.
You were there when the Rebbe said
Yes.
The Rebbe made a special Fabrengen before he left, and the Rebbe said a maimer. The Rebbe asked they should find. From one of the elder Chassidim might have a copy of that maimer from the Mittel Rebbe that the Mittel Rebbe said the week before his Estalkus. And then the Rebbe Grona tried to find it. They only found part of it, but the Rebbe said that maimer they understood in honor of Remendel Futafas, and this was based on this maimer, the Mittel Rebbe. What was the nekuda of the maimer? That there is a kitrug always against the Jewish people in the Eden and Golus. That the kitrug is that the Jews are just, the Jews, it's routine. The Jewish, they put on tefillin, they give tzedakah, they keep Shabbos, they eat cholent and kugel. It's not their whole passion and pleasure is not in avodas Hashem. Rachmana litzlan. That's the kitrug that's being said. Now, The Eibishter wants to prove that the Kitrig is wrong. Now we know that there is. What's the opposite of Oinig? It's Tsar. The Ein Lamayla me Oinig ve'ein Lamata menega. That well, how do you know when someone has such unbelievable pleasure in something? That someone is attached to something. How do you know that someone's attached to it? You have to take it away from him. Then you know if he's really attached to it. If when a person, two people have something and they have it, they're wealthy, they're good. So how do you know how attached the person is? There's someone always tells me, Rabbi, I come from I grew up in this neighborhood in the Bronx and this. He happens to be a very wealthy fellow now, and he says, I could live with nothing. I'm thinking to myself, it's easy to say. How do you know how attached someone is to something? If you take it away. If you take it away, you see
how much salary.
Right. If you give a Ferrari to a beggar, and they say, I changed my mind. Get out of the car. Sure, I'll walk out. I'll go back to the corner. And again, give up Sayyid Agvir, and he goes into the car. He takes the key, and they say, no, I just changed my mind.
No way.
Give it to him for 5 years, then take it away.
Exactly. So when you take it away, then you see the attachment the person has to it. So the Eibishter made that some generations that a Yid could hardly do any mitzvahs, and then all of a sudden the Yid is screaming.
One second.
And the Rebbe cried in the Maimer a lot when they told over this Maimer from the Mittler Rebbe. Oy li, ayala li, like these words from the Kinnis. And the Rebbe cried a lot. The Rebbe said that the Yid is crying that he can't do the mitzvahs. And the Eibishter says to the Makat, what are you talking about? You see, they can't do the mitzvahs, and look how much pain he's in. When someone's in pain, when you take something away, you know how much pleasure he has when he has it. So what are you telling me that the Yidden are just doing it out of rote? You see, when I'm taking it away from them, how much pain and how much they're crying, Oye li, ayala li. So that's why the Mittler Rebbe said is going to be the Gezeira of the Kantonisten. And they're hardly going to be able to do any mitzvahs, that's Nebuch, that was the case. Well, the Mesiris Nefesh that the Rebbe used to say a lot of times in the Friedrich Rebbe, Mesiris Nefesh means a person could go onto the top of a tall building and jump off. But you can't stand on the bottom of a tall building and jump onto the roof. Can't do it. So you could force a person to eat chometz on Pesach, he'll close his mouth and he'll die of hunger. But if you take away his tefillin, he can't have Mesiris Nefesh to put on tefillin. He doesn't have the tefillin. He doesn't. If you take away mezuzah, he doesn't have mezuzah, and so on. The Kantonisten, they lived a very difficult life. Some of them were stolen from their parents' home at a tender age of 10 or 12. They came back home when they were 45 years old. And even some of them that got married,
they didn't even know what the life.
They never
didn't even
had
know
a very
the Jews.
tough.
Right. Some of them didn't know the Jews.
So b'meila, but they had a lot of stories of Mesiris Nefesh of the Kantonisten. So b'meila, when they took away from them the Yiddishkeit,
right,
and they had so much tsar, so even those kedai that they should live a life and then not do that many mitzvahs, but to prove the point that the deepest connection and the deepest satisfaction in a Jew's life is kiyum haTorah v'mitzvahs, because you take it away from a Jew,
he wants it more.
You see how much he's crying.
It's always like that.
And the Rebbe was saying that klape the Russian Jewry. The Rebbe was saying as a limit schus klape, saying like talking more to talking to in Himmel for the Russian Jews.
What happened when in the end with Rabbi Feinstein? Just a short story.
I don't know. I just know this thing.
I don't know.
I don't know. I know Chassidim tell the story, and I heard it also from people that were involved and were there, but I don't know what.
Did Rabbi Feinstein know the middle?
I don't know. I just know this prat. Anyway, back to the petita of the Mittler Rebbe. Was Ches Kislev. Ches Kislev was the Mittler Rebbe told the Chassidim that they should get mashke and they should make a big fabring in honor of his geula. They said, but the geula didn't come yet. It's another 2 days. This ches, then goes tes, then goes yud. It was 2 days before. So he said, anyway, it's time to be besimcha, simchas mamtek dinim. And he said
he's preparing 2 days before Chag
exactly. He said, I'm going to learn some mishnayos with a big tainuk. He's going to learn mishnayos taharas. The night of Tes Kislev, The Mittel Rebbe was very sick, and he kept on fainting and going in and out of fainting. And Mittel Rebbe all of a sudden opened his eyes and said he wants to be dressed in white. So the Bnei Bayis dressed him in white, and he looked like an angel. All of a sudden, color came back to his face, and he said he wants to say Chassidus. And the Chassidim gathered around the bed of the Mittel Rebbe, and the Mittel Rebbe started saying Chassidus in a very loud voice, and he started chazering with a big chayas, with a huge chayas. And the entire night he was saying Chassidus. From the night till the morning, the entire hours on end, that he was chazering Chassidus. And just before the crack of dawn, he finished the Maimer, and the final words was Ki imcha mekor chayim mechaye hachayim. And when he said those words, Ki imcha mekor chayim mechaye hachayim, as he said those words, his neshama was oila l'mayla. That was it. And the Tzemach Tzedek said that from the days of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai until the day of his father-in-law, there was never such a stalkus of a tzaddik. The Zoya says that his pit butzinet tradisha l'meimer, also there was a psaloshin of Chaim, and his neshama was oila l'mayla.
They said that before a person died, and this is my nephew told me when my sister passed away 9 years ago, the day before she became alive.
Right,
Smiling, talking, right. She knows things like she's healthy. And then later, passed away.
So he was born.
The Mittel Rebbe was born and passed away on the same exact day. And the Chassidim said that this is like Moshe Rabbeinu, and also the Ovis, that the Ovis it says, that doesn't tell us which day exactly, but they were all born and passed away in the same Chodesh. So the Chazal say that Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ben Meya ve'esem shona anoichi hayoim mat hamaloim v'hayoim hayoim molo yom hayushnoisei lalamdach shekadosh baruch hu yoishem v'mala shnoiseim shel tzadikim miyoim liyoim shenevar es misper yomecha amal. Flek the Rebbe Akasha, before we get to the sicha. This is all a long sicha. What's the kunz? L'chayre by a tzaddik, the main thing is the ruchnius, like the Alter Rebbe says in his famous letter about the stalkus of a tzaddik, that the main life of a tzaddik is not chaim besorim, ki im chaim ruchnim, shem amunah v'yira v'yava. So why is it so important that a tzaddik, that he has just like a round thing in the calendar? He was born this day and he passed away. A kunz. Like what's the big kunz? The main thing of the life of a tzaddik is the spirituality, the amunah ava v'yira. What's so negeya that he, the calendar goes around? The Rebbe says that because the answer is like this, that the shleimus of avodas tzaddik is that everything that he does begashmis is reflected also in ruchnius. The tachlis and shleimus of avodah Torah mitzvahs is that it purifies his body, and that's the shleimus of a tzaddik.
Yeah, but why would it be? Why whatever he does gashmis goes to ruchnius? Maybe whatever he does in ruchnius comes to ruchnius. Saying that, I was saying, where's it coming from that
there's
we know?
There's a story from Reb Folakan, unbelievable story, that he says that the Chassidim were once sitting in Moscow and they were verbringing. Came in a chosed, not Chabad chosed, but he said he heard an unbelievable story from his Rebbe. And he a Kabbalah from his Rabbeim that would present at the story. The Alter Rebbe was once verbringing with the Chavedim, the Chavrei Kedisha of the Magid, and we're going to learn soon the insight on the pasuk about this. So the Alter Rebbe said l'chaim that the Eibusha should give us hatzlocha begashmius and beruchnius.
Okay.
So they said to him, this friend said, how could you say such a thing? A bracha where you mention gashmius before ruchnius. So the Alter Rebbe said, what are you talking about? This is the way Yaakov Avinu said. The Yaakov Avinu said, Vayida Yaakov neder leimer, im yeh elekim imodi ushmarani bederech hazeh asher anochi oilach, v'nosen li lechem lechel ubeged lilbish. He will give me bread to eat and a cloak to wear. And then he said, after that he says, v'shavta b'sholom al beis avi. And then First he asked for Gashmias, then for Ruchnias. So the other Chavrei Kadisha said, how could you compare the Gashmias of Yaakov Avinu to our Gashmias. Gashmias of Yaakov Avinu was, yeah. So the Alter Rebbe said, how could you compare Yaakov and Ruchnias to our Ruchnias? In other words, he was saying, great, our Gashmias is not as great as Yaakov in his Gashmias, but Yaakov in his Ruchnis is greater than his Gashmias. No? Wouldn't you think? Still, he asked for Gashmias first. So from Yaakov we learn that first the Gashmias. So the Rebbe says that by a tzaddik, the shleimus, the avodas, the ruchnius, purifies his body and purifies everything begashmius that's in this world. So therefore, by the Mittel Rebbe, it came out that he lived b'diuk like Moshe Rabbeinu. That the Eibishter was a mamal, not only beruchnius, that every day a person lives is a lavush echad, there's another lavush beruchnius, but begashmis it came out that he wasn't chosar lavush echad. There was like a shleimus, it was the full amount. It was absolutely the full amount.
That's why he's saying it's first gashmis.
That's why, yeah, tazai. And the Rebbe says an interesting thing that even though we don't find it by all the other Rebbeim, we find it by the Mittel Rebbe. So firstly, we're soon going to learn the sicha why dafka we find it by the Mittel Rebbe. Why don't we find it by other tzaddikim? We find it by Moshe Rabbeinu, by Mittel Rebbe. So, but why don't we find it by other tzaddikim? So the Rebbe says, first of all, could be by other tzaddikim. Maybe they get an extra few days. They should have lived till maybe she gives them an extra few days, or maybe after they have quality time, even though they don't make it to their birthday. But in the few last days of their last year, they accomplished in those days more. But the emes is that still there must be a reason. Why is it that dafka by certain tzaddikim we see this thing that the shleimus? So for this, let's go into this week's parsha. L'chaim l'chaim. Eibusha should give us atzlocha, begashmias and beruchnis.
Amen.
Vayetzei Yaakov be'eshava, vayelech harona. Vayivka b'mokam, vayolan sham kebo hashemash, vayikach ma'avne ha'mokam, vayosam v'nashoysa, vayishka b'mokam hu. That he comes to the Eibishter made that the shemesh should go down quickly, and that he should be able to end up in the place of the Beis HaMikdash. And he took rocks and he put them around his head. Why? Rashi says to protect himself from the Chayas Ros. Vayachlam, and he has a dream. V'sulam otzav artza v'reisha m'gashemaim v'nei malach l'kemoyla v'yer devoy. V'nei Hashem nitzav lo v'yom. The Eibusha tells him, Ani Hashem l'kei Avram v'ich l'kei Yitzchak oretz at t'shech v'lelachot nena l'zarecha. This land, the Eibusha rolled up the whole land and put it like a pillow under his head. He said, this land is your land. Hoya zaracha kafar oretz. Fratz yom v'keima v'tzafana v'nedbo v'nivruchu v'chol komish b'chazadoma v'zarecha v'hine enoch imach v'shmartich b'chol shatelech v'asher v'sicha l'dom hazis ki lo yazovcha ad asher im asis asher debat loch. Rabbi says, I'm going to protect you, I'm going to be with you. After that, 1 second, Vayikatz Yaakov Mishnasi, Yaakov wakes up, the Eibush is in this place. Vayira Vayomer, he had an unbelievable fear because he realized that this is the place of the Beis HaMikdash. Manoira HaMokim HaZekim, the Beis HaLakim. This is the Beis HaLakim, the place of the Beis HaMikdash. This is Shara Shemayim, and this is the gates to heaven because the Beis HaMikdash Shalamat is Mechuven connected to the Beis HaMikdash Shalamayla. Vayashkem Yaakov Aboyka, Vayikach Hasev Hashem Menasroisa, Vayosam Esam Hatzeva, Vayitzak Shem Narosha. He picked up the rock that was by his head and he made it as a matzeva and he put oil on the rock. The Rashi says in the beginning, it says he put rocks plural, and here it says one rock singular, because there was a dispute between the rocks which one would be zeich to be by the head of the tzaddik, and the Eibishter made a miracle. All the rocks turned into one rock. So this rock he turned into matzeva. Vayikra Hashem HaMokim Hu Beis Kel. He called the place Beis Kel, which is Hashem's house. V'ulam Luz Shem L'Rishana. Originally, the name of the city was Luz. Vayida Yaakov Neder, and Yaakov made a neder at this place, at this matzeva. Leimer Imi Elikim Emodish Marana B'Darach Zeh Shanei Chaylach. The Eibusha will be with me, protect me. V'Nosli Lechem Lachel Beged Lil B'Shushaft B'Shalom Al Beis Avi. V'Yah Hashem Lil Elikim. That he will give me bread and a cloak, and I will return peacefully to my father's house. The Eibishter will be for me and Elikim. V'Evan Hazeh Shasamti Matzeva Ye Beis Elikim. This rock will be a Beis Elikim. And all from all the wealth he will give me. I will give a tenth to you. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
My question is...
this is Evan Shtir?
No, I said I'll give Maaseh. Why is it double? No, I don't know. Double here Sometimes in Pshuta Shemikra, it's I don't think a question. It is sometimes Asa to Asa, Eis Tvuras Zarecha, Yoitze Hasoda Shona Shona. Asa to Asa, Shona Shona. Rashi doesn't ask, why does it say twice? Pshuta Shemikra, I think sometimes you say double for emphasis. So Rashi brings out God, right? Also, that's true. But Rashi here doesn't say anything. I don't know. But Rashi doesn't say anything.
To make the stone.
He's going to make the stone a Beis Elokim. And the other thing is that he's going to give Maisa.
And this stone is never spoke about.
We don't know where the stone is.
Saying it's not Evan Oshia.
No, it's not Evan Oshia.
I have a question on Rashi. It said Me'ashotav, and Rashi said to secure him from Chayot Ra'ot.
Yeah.
Why not the whole body? Why only the head?
Oh, right. We'll talk about this soon. First of all, why not his whole body? And what if if a rip off a leg is yagut? And the second question is, and if you know the story, the joke. I remember my Zed used to say, "He's make l'chaim." He used to cry and laugh at the same. My Zed didn't know how to do that, cry and laugh at the same time. So
he was laughing so much he started to cry.
So that the German, he used to say, we used to make jokes of the Germans. Never now, after the Holocaust, it's not a joke. The Germans, but they say what happened with the German thieves. That they were being chased. They were hot pursuit. The cops were behind them, and they had the thieves, but the thieves were quick, and the police couldn't catch them. And then the police caught them. You know what happened? They came to the park. The gates were open, but there was a sign. It's a holiday. Do not enter the park. The thieves were standing there. They didn't know what to do. They stood there till the cops came and caught them. So tell me, what is it going to help? If a lion comes and he sees a man, a hungry lion, and he sees a man is lying and sleeping on the ground, there's clearly rocks all around him. It says, "Don't enter, don't enter." What, he can't bend over like this and take a bite at a leg or an arm. No, he can't. Why does it help to put rocks around him? Why? The park is closed now. You can't enter. How does that work? So this is one of the questions we will deal with. The big question that the Rebbe has in the sicha is that the whole Parshas Vayetzei is stories that happen in the span of 22 years while Yaakov Avinu is in Choron. Yaakov is not a young man by now. He already lived 127 years. There's very little about Yaakov Avinu while he's in Eretz Yisrael. Dafke, when he's in Chutz La'aretz, and for this period of 22 years, we tell so much, such a long parsha. Dafke Vayetzei is the long parsha. Why? The Nekuda the Rebbe says is Ma'aseh of a similar bonus. Sometimes a person in life has a yerida, falls down. Not always, we're always going up. Nebuch, sometimes we go back a little bit. But really, every time we go back, it's really in order to jump much higher. And the general thing of the neshama going into this world is that reason, that the neshama is going down from a beautiful place called Be'er Sheva, which is the well of the Sheva of all the 7 midas, the source of all the midas of Kedusha, which is Bina, and that's where the neshama is coming from. And it goes to Charon Av Shal Makam Ba'olam. It's going to the lowest place. But Dafka here is where the whole fun happens. Because where does Yaakov become wealthy, and where does he marry the Moas, and where does he have his 12 children, and where does he have Mitos Shlema? Dafka and Choran, Dafka Vayetzei, when it's seemingly his brother is chasing after him to kill him, and Eliphaz comes and steals every money that's in his pocket, and he is left penniless with a staff in his hand. Nebuch, destitute, and he goes from the fire, from the frying pan to the fire. He's going from Esau's tentacles to Lavan, and he's in trouble. And Dafke, with the biggest Yerid, there comes the biggest Aliyah. So the Rebbe goes through the psukim here beautifully, and then we'll go back to the story of the Mittel Rebbe and the connection of the Mittel Rebbe to the Chag Yula and Yortzeit and Yom this week's Parsha, and the connection of all this to Lahavi L'Mais Mashiach. So first, let's go back to the Chumash. Vayetzei Yaakov Be'er Sheva. Pichsedas talking about every neshama. It goes a place from Be'er Sheva. Sheva is the 7 midas. Be'er Sheva is the source of the 7 midas. is the neshama comes from the Sfira Sabina and it goes down to the lowest place. Not only Charana, the way it's Malchus, that Tzilas, but Charana, the way it's Bri, Yitzir, Asiya, in the world of Choran, Avshal Mokim, a place of Klippan, Setarachra, and a place where there's wild animals that try to hurt the Jew. Then, like the nation, 70 nations of the world are gathering around in one kifsa, and the Yid is in danger. And then there is, when the Yid goes, that says Vayelech Chorona. Rashi says, why it say Vayelech Chorona? It should say Vayelech Lichoron. So Rashi says there's a rule that instead of putting a lamed in the beginning, you put at the hay at the end. Why go like this? So in diktuk you don't ask questions. It's a rule in diktuk. Every diktuk rule you can ask a question.
Maybe it changes the gematria a little bit.
Oh, that's what happens. It changes the gematria. It changes. If the Rebbe says Vayelech Chorono, the Yid, it says that the neshamas are called mahalchim. It says v'nasati locha mahalchim benoim demoela. The malachim, as much as they're growing spiritually, they're really standing in one place. They think they're moving, but they're not moving anywhere. But neshamas are always growing spiritually. So that's a pshat. Vayetzei Yaakov Be'esheva. And now Dafke Choron Vayelech, that's where he becomes a Vayelech. Not Lichoron. In Choron itself, in Choron he becomes a Vayelech. And not only that, hey, Chazal say, B'Yud Nivra Ha'olam Haba, B'Hei Nivra Ha'olam Haza. The Eibish's name has Yud Hey Vav Hey, but specifically the first half of the name is the Ikir of the name. So the job of a Jew is to reveal in this world that this world is really created from the hay of Hashem Hashem. Choron is a place of Avodah Zarah. Like we know, Lavan was only serving Avodah Zarah. When he was here in the morning, we went through this gruesome Avodah Zarahs that he had. Not very savory stuff, but there was all Avodah Zarahs. So the job of Yaakov Avinu is Choron no, to be Megala, the hay of the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei in the Choron. To be Megala, the Koyach HaPoel Benifel, that the Eibush is in the Welt. So let's go to the next pasuk.
Maybe another Biur Charana with the hay, that Hashem with him, with the hay.
Very good.
Hashem with him.
The hay is with him. So Dafka, by having the Yerida into Choron, he becomes a Vayelech. And furthermore, next pasuk, Vayifga B'Mokam, Vayolan Sham Kivo HaShemesh. Vayikach Ma'avna Mokam Vayosam Rashoysa Vayishkav B'Mokam Ahu, he sleeps there. Bachlal, sleeping, there is legreyusa. Golus is compared to sleeping. And what's the chisaron of? There's a chisaron when a person is not sleeping, he's standing up or he's sitting. So the roish is lamaila, is controlling. The head is giving signals to the heart, and the heart is giving signals to the hand, and the leg.
Sometimes.
And but when a person's sleeping, exactly. But then when a person lies down, the head is not functioning more than the legs. When a person is asleep, the head and the legs are having equal function. The person is alive, he's rejuvenating, but it's not that the head is thinking and the head is lamaila and the midas alamata and that's the union of shchiva lechisara. But then there is a type of sleeping which is a mile, which reflects a chashayla. Chazal say that for the it says in the pasuk that vayishka b'mokamahu, he slept in that place. What's the extra words? And we know he's there. Rashi says because for the past 14 years he never slept at night. For the 14 years it was in yeshivas of Shem Ve'eva, he never slept at night. And there's another Ma'am Chazal in Bereshis Rabbah. For the next 22 years, he also didn't sleep a night. Wow! Because love and aram, you can't sleep a full night when you're around love and aram.
You got your eyes open halfway to make sure that this in the morning you still have your sheep.
So exactly, he could never sleep at night. We'll talk about the Shabbos, a beautiful beer, why he couldn't sleep when he was in Lavan's house. But he couldn't sleep when he was in Lavan's house. But that night he slept. So the Rebbe says Apella. So 14 years he doesn't sleep. Another 22 years doesn't. But when does he sleep? In the place of the Beis HaMikdash. If the Eibishter made it happen that way, why did the Eibishter make it? There must be a reason, Lamal Yusa. The Eibishter makes that a Jew should end up sleeping. The one good night of sleep is in the Beis HaMikdash. So the Rebbe says there's also a Maila in sleeping. Because when do you see that the head is more important than the heart? When you're talking about giluyim, not etzem. When is the heart, when the marshal, if you say, yeah, a person, what's more important? The seichel or the midas? It's seichel. A person has to use his head first. Not how you feel about it. The first thing you should know is you should check how you think about something. Derech Eretz is also, but I'm saying there's a seder. There's a seder. There's Derech Eretz, and there's Torah, there's Seichel, there's Midas, there's always...
Okay, so what is the first thing you just said?
I'm saying an example. I'm saying there's a seder, how things are. But then, if a person is alive or not alive, there's no seder. Either he's alive or he's not alive. It's not, there's no seder here. So, when you're talking about ruchnius and gashmius, what's more important? Ruchnius. What's less important? Gashmius. But when you're talking to the Eibishter himself, atzmus and ruchnius and gashmius is the same thing. The Eibishter creates the ruchnius and gashmius. It's all the same. The Eibishter shows Yaakov Avinu a mile that is vayishka b'mokamahu, that there was the gila of the Eibishter himself, pshitus atzmus, higher than seichel, higher than midas. Not something that Yaakov Avinu could understand or feel. If it's something you can feel, understand, that's you're standing up. Where the seichel understands it more, and the midas and the feel it this way. But when you're talking about pshitas ha'atzmos, like we say in Chassidus, that the pshitas of a ish posher takes the pshitas ha'atzmos, it's where the seichel, the midas, the hands and the legs are all equal. That's why Dafkin the Mokam HaMikdash is called the Chadar HaMitas, the bedroom, where the Yid is called the Jewish bedroom. Why? Because over there the Yid is asleep. He's equal. The head is the Gashmis and Ruchnis is all equal because it's a Gilev Atzmos of the Eibush himself, which is higher than Ruchnis and Gashmis put together. God created physical and spiritual, so to him it's all the same thing. So over here Vayishkev is Lamal Yusa. And an awesome thing, it's an awesome thing that he came to the place of Beis HaMikdash. God shows him the Inyan Vayishkav. And furthermore, it says that he says, this is Beis Elokim. Beis Elokim means Adira B'Tachtoinim. It's Adira B'Tachtoinim. Now we'll understand the question about the Marzev, the story with the Marzev. Chazal say that why did he put a lot of rocks around him? Because he was scared of the Chayas. The question is, this whole body. So unfortunately, really put around this whole body too. But the question remains, says the Rebbe, what's the big deal? If you put rocks around you, the animals on a spoil, because it's like you put a sign.
Maybe they were really big rocks.
So
Boulders,
and they can't bend over. It doesn't say that he made a cave. If he climbed into a cave and he closed the cave,
You just put some rocks
if
on
sounds like he made.
Change them.
It could have been that big. If they were any
Why
bigger,
did they make it into a pillow?
Also.
Should have made it a soft down pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know the answer?
Well, what's
The
that?
answer is they were concerned with themselves and not with Yaakov. They wanted their covered, not Yaakov.
Okay. So the Rebbe says,
Ashtain is Ashtain.
Yeah. There's a Mordecai Zohar. It says that just like the Neil in Begoy Vayros, why didn't they devour him? Zohar says that there's a Tzelem Elakim, and when the Chayas see that the person has Tzelem Elakim, they can't hurt the person. There is the Yungaman here used to daven. He brought me a sefer from a Yid that's at the Shiva Ruach HaTorah. So his father is a Gerech Chosid. So in his sefer in the back is memoirs of his father. So he brought me the sefer. I should read his Chidushim. Chidushim you can upshlag, but the memoirs of his father, who lived through Chaim L'Chaim, who lived through tough stuff under the Nazis, is fascinating. So his father's a Gerech Chosid, and he said that it was Boduk Umenusa. Boduk Umenusa. That Rahman al-Atzlan, the Germans, Yimach Shemam, had dogs that Rahman al-Atzlan could devour people. Vicious dogs. And they said,
What does the term mean?
it tested and it works. It was tested and it works. The Chassidim knew that when they were around these dogs, they kept in their mind the picture of the Rebbe. And if they kept the picture of the Rebbe, this guy says, and that's what he writes. He said he always kept a picture of his Rebbe in his mind, and he was always protected.
Wow.
He kept always a picture of his Rebbe in his mind, and he was always protected.
So now we have to.
So So the Zoya says
Tzelem.
that when there's a tzelem akim, that the chayes can be mazakim. And the Rebbe says, obviously that's what's happening by Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu went to sleep, and there was a tzelem alakim on his face. The animals are not going to hurt him. But why did he put rocks? He wanted to show something. That there is, that the toike for the neshama, he wanted to show something, that his neshama is so powerful that it shines in the rocks. And that's taka what happened. A miracle happened, and rocks, 30 rocks turned into one rock, which is a nes. So we see that the ruchnius of Yaakov was so powerful that it could change the rocks around him. One thing is, the union of rocks shows on toikif. Also, rocks is the most gashmiistic thing. So Yaakov Avinu showed the chayes rois that the kedusha of Yaakov Avinu is so powerful that it affects the rocks around him. Mela, that's what kept the chayes away from.
If he was so strong, why did he need the knife with Hashem?
Huh?
If he was so strong in a mile, why did he need the knife from Hashem? If he was so holy, why would he need it? Why would he need to have the knife?
Now that he did such a moedek avodah, the Eibishter promised him that wherever he's going to go, the Eibishter is going to help him. He's going to help him in his avodas Hashem.
But why did he have to make this knife if he had so much powerful? If he knew he's so much powerful, he knew he wasn't blind to what's going on around him. Why was he needed to do this knife of if Hashem Yishmarayim because is this?
Oh, why you made a tanai? That's a separate shaila. It's a very good shaila.
He doesn't want
I'm making
that's a shaila. Why do you have to make a tanai? That's a good
because he
shaila.
doesn't want to use the schuyot that he
Doesn't want to
has.
use
By the way, in Morocco, there are wild dogs that protect the cemetery.
Why is he
The
worried
Jewish
about?
cemetery. When the Yidden come,
having a
the wild dogs
Yes, they
lay
don't
down. When a goy comes,
Like a bank
they are ferocious.
for this?
And I have a friend.
One second. Let's just wrap it up.
Okay, who tried it.
So Zok the Rebbe, that Mamela, this is the whole Indian of Pashas Vayetzei. That when when a Yid goes out, Dafka there, and not Stam Dafka there becomes a Vayelach, but Dafka there is where Yaakov Avinu showed that his Kedusha, of his neshama shined into the gashmis of the world, that the chayes were scared of him, and not only that, that the rocks were changed from the kedusha of Yaakov Avinu. So that connects, this story of the Pasha connects at the Indian of the Mittel Rebbe. B'chlal, when you Mittel Rebbe, as we said before, that the Tzemach Tzedek said, by my father-in-law, if they'd cut his finger, blood wouldn't come out, chassidus would come out. And there's also that the Friedrich Rebbe said about that the Mittel Rebbe said that his biggest wish, so what, a person's biggest wish, is when two of the chassidim will meet in the marketplace, that they should talk about Atik ve'arich. And he said that he wants his wish is that younger light should understand in Keser like they understand the 5 fingers, and that's going to give him the greatest satisfaction. What's in the gay? If they talk about Atik ve'arich, they could talk about it better in the Beis Medrash, where it's nice and quiet, and there's a l'chaim. Why is it so much that the Mittel Rebbe wanted that they should talk in the marketplace about Atik and Arich? Pshat is they should be so excited about what they're learning that they're still talking about it when they're walking out on Avenue J, and when they're going into Mechi's Deli, they're still. And the guy said, "What do you want? What do you want?" Atik ve'arich. Kugel, no Atik ve'arich. But the Rebbe says that really the pshat is like this: that by the Mittel Rebbe, his name was Mittela. What's up, Mittela? Mittela is concept of connecting in the middle, to connect the two things. The Mittel Rebbe's union is to connect Ruchnius and Gashmius, to connect the Gashmius of the world, that it should shine out the Ruchnius into this world. And therefore, the Mittel Rebbe wanted that by his chassidim, where should it be that they're talking about Atik ve'arich in the marketplace, where the rocks are.
Shasi was Rebbe, he was still called the Mittel Rebbe?
I don't know. No, probably not.
Probably not.
But now he's called the Mittel Rebbe. So but the Mittel Rebbe, which that was his avodah. Mittel Rebbe also, we know in Chassidus, that the Alter Rebbe was Chochma, and the Mittel Rebbe was Bina, and some other was Das. And there's a mile in each one, but basically Bina is the when something penetrates, it's through Bina, because Bina means that I understand it well. How could something penetrate without Bina? It doesn't penetrate. Das is a special thing we spoke about at Shabbos, and Chochma, but Bina basically should penetrate. Just like water, when water goes over a field and it penetrates and it starts to grow. Bina is the koyach of Bina, is to understand it well, to explain it well. To the Mittel Rebbe, you see B'muchash as Maimorim, that not one page, but they could be 40, 50 pages. You could say a whole night, one maimer, which is to explain something well, that it should sink into the person's mind. And that was the koyach of the Mittel Rebbe. It was Malosha Mittele, to connect the ruchnius of the kedusha into the gashmius and the chumnius of this world. Mamela, Dafka, by the Mittel Rebbe, there was this thing that by him it was poshet that he was born and passed away at the same day, which is a reflection that his avodas Hashem beruchnius that was b'shleimus was also shined into the gashmius was b'shleimus.
So by tzaddik means going vice versa. It goes from whatever is up there down here. By us, it's going whatever is down here. It reflects the upstairs.
But as you heard before, the Alter Rebbe says in the story that just that tzlochas stay begashmius or beruchnius, like by Yaakov Vino. First the gashmius, then the ruchnius. Why? Because in the ruchnius has to shine through. The whole tachlis is it just shine through into the ruchnius. So the Rebbe says that we have to know that the parsha this week is connected to Tes and to the Stalkus of the Mittel Rebbe, is also connected to the Chag Geulah. We know that the Yud Kislev is connected to Yutas Kislev, not only because the story is connected. I mean, the story it's really a continuation of the same story. But the Chassidim used to say that Yud Kislev is the birthday of every Chos, and Yutas Kislev is the Bris. So V'meila, now is the time to get ready for Yutas Kislev, which is the Rosh Hashanah l'Chasidus. So the Eibus shall help that this Shabbos, that every one of us should have a Seirus on this inyan of the Mittel Rebbe, that all of us should be the Mittel by us. The Mittel Rebbe, which the inyan of Mittel Rebbe is, that when we're standing in the marketplace, we're standing in Avenue J, we're standing in Coney Island, that we should be flowing with Atik V'Yarech, we should be flowing in Keser. And when we do this, we'll be Zoiche, Mitz Hashem, that the bottom line is, Lehavi L'Moisa Mashiach, that we should come to, because the bottom line, the only thing that's missing is that each open his eyes and see everything is Muchen for the Geulah Mitzvah V'Shleim and the Mashiach Tzidkein.
Amen.
L'chaim,